I think the focus these days we see is on culture and experiences. I mean, the reality. We saw a few minutes ago, the whole world is talking about the Sphere in Vegas.
Yes.
And what's coming up in the UAE. We look at all of the hospitality companies, we look at all of the brands, you look at all of the governments, and the proposition is no longer a location, a destination. People are clearly spoiled for choice, and therefore it's now the experience, and that's why sports is back in, culture is back in, theater is back in, and so on. So I think experience, if the one word, the takeaway, the proposition is experience. So what experience can you sell?
Wow. Your Excellency Nasser, you just told me off stage, 12 years building a sports festival, a travel festival, a world spectacle. And congratulations on getting a little bit of a rest. That is wonderful. What are you seeing right now in the world of sport? We're coming off the Super Bowl, which is, you know, a mini World Cup. Like, what is the state of sports, of culture, and what does it mean for governments and for states?
Thank you for having me on stage to share a little bit of my experience. And, you know, I'm going to add to what my colleague Aymen has said. You know, right now we live in a very busy world, and there's a lot of content. Content has never been so easy to reach, and everybody is fighting for a slice of attention. And this is the key word. I think right now sports is changing, and people who are in the sports world are changing how they approach the sport, because it's become entertainment or something that's competing for people's attention. And it's not being consumed the same way. So now I think when we look, I'll speak from a sporting perspective, how we package a sport has to be completely different than, you know, than how it's been done for centuries. And it's all about an experience for people that are going to be at the sporting event, and it's not enough just to make sure that you know, they're going to have to survive if the game is boring for 2 hours or for an hour, depending on what sport it is. You need to make sure that this experience is something that's memorable, because if you don't have, you have one shot. Yeah. As a country, you need to build that reputation that if I'm going to take somebody's time and money and effort, I need to make sure that I give them a good product and a good experience.
Wow. And Gillian, you have a truly global view of the world of travel, the world of experiences. What is like on your radar right now? What is really kind of getting you jazzed up and excited?
Yes, so I'm very happy that this is a theme here at the conference, because people often underestimate the enormous size of this industry. I think in 1950 there were 25 million tourist arrivals. Last year it were 1.3 billion. But if you think about what is still to come, there's 5.3 billion people that are going to have access to travel the upcoming time. Then you have remote work and extended stay, so people can work from anywhere, which is a trend will increase tourism. Plus our lives are much more digital, so we have much more time to travel. So I think that's why this topic is so needed to talk about, because you already see the reverse side of what this can do to destinations. And I live in Europe, and there in certain destinations you already see that people get a love-hate relationship with tourism, because on the one hand they earn money with tourism, but on the other hand their cost of living is rising in these destinations, so it's becoming much more complicated. What I see as trends is that you really see that people look for these authentic experiences. They really want to live as a local. You see that really is something that people are looking for, make much more sustainable choices. You also see that people are expecting travel to be much more personalized, because travel in itself is still quite a complex topic if you think about finding your next destination to travel to. And I think people also expect much more smart solutions and digital solutions in travel.
How do the three of you and the three of your industries all come together and work together? The way I see it, Your Excellency Nasser throws the party. He creates the reason to be there. Gillian gets you there easily and in style. And then Your Excellency Aymen lets you stay in an incredible experience. Like, it really is an ecosystem. How do you all work together? And does it happen organically, or do you all get together as industries when there's something like a World Cup or a Super Bowl or a great cultural experience? How do you guys all get together and make it all work?
I mean, look, if you take a look at Germany's recent experience with the Euro finals, with regards to that, our hotels, yes, are hosting, But if you're only providing brick and mortar, if you're only providing rooms, shelter, you don't make it. You very simply don't make it. If you're not packaging it with the entertainment, if you're not packaging it with the ecosystem, if the booking mechanism, the payment mechanism, if all of that is not seamless, they won't come. I mean, you have to remember, right, in our part of the world, whether it's sports or whether it's hospitality or otherwise, we're dealing with wants and not needs. So because you're dealing with wants and not needs, if the amount of friction, if the nuisance is above a certain threshold, you're not going to do it. You're not going to take your kids on a flight if there's queues, if there's a lot of traffic, if the payment requirements are very, very difficult and so on. So, I mean, you see the likes of Viagogo now with theaters and sports and so on and so forth. You see the likes of bookings, etc. So if it is not seamless, again, I go back to we're spoiled for choice. If you don't provide them with a seamless, interactive, packaged experience, they simply won't come. Yeah. So by virtue of that, we have to partner. I mean, there's no choice. So we either all make it or we don't.
Oh, very cool. What do you all think?
No, I agree. I agree with what Aymen said, and it's important. I mean, I can only speak on from my experiences, and we had to work to make it a success, and we knew that. I mean, we had discussions with booking, we had discussions with all the airlines in the region to make sure that they provided enough flights. We discussed on immigration, how we can make immigration easier. I mean, there were deliberate discussions and meetings to make sure that people from the region can get in and out of the country seamlessly and as quickly as possible. We wanted to make sure that accommodation was made as available as possible. We did have issues in speaking to booking and other platforms, because there was a lot of issues around data collection and so forth. But the point I'm trying to make is you wouldn't have been able to make something that large successful without collaborating with the different entities to make it successful.
How about you, Gillian?
Yeah, no, I think booking experiences is the future, and you see that more and more. And if you think about an experience that requires so many elements that are part of travel, so more cooperation is needed. I also think governments need to step in more in the future to really help. If you think about the challenges around over-tourism, but also infrastructure, yeah, which will become so important, sustainable infrastructure, so to speak. So there's so many parts where, you know, a company alone in travel, it's very hard to do that.
Well, your industries are all fascinating to me because you said it's passion. It's not I need this, I want this. It's the experience economy. It also changes all the time. Technology changes. People's tastes change. What they want out of it. What is different now than made it? Like, what is the experience the consumer want now different than it was maybe 5 years ago? And where is this going? Like, where do you see? And we'll talk about AI in a minute, but like, what is shifting in your world? Like, what do you said it's not about need, it's about want. What do your customers want now?
So let me tell you this. We were talking about this before we started. We now look at applications and we look at programs. One was presented to me a while back where they're talking about destination dishes. All right, literally a dish in the middle of nowhere, where the dish is actually packaged. So what they want to do is, for example, it is packaged with tickets where you land, let's say in Athens, you then take a sailboat to an island in the middle of nowhere to get to a bed and breakfast, if you will, that is locally operated because the grandmother that's cooking for them has this fantastic goat cheese pie. You would never have seen that 5 years ago, even. Impossible. There's just so many different operators that the tourist would have just required to put way too much effort into it. Now, if you were to fast forward and take a look at what we were doing today. So in the past, you would have to use an application like Booking, you would have to use the hotel's application, you would have to use the local police or registrar applications, etc. Right? Fast forward to today, and this is only the beginning, you get applications like Revolut, for example. Right? So with Revolut, you open a bank account before you land. You get an eSIM on your phone from the same application. You then can tap into the APIs of the likes of Booking, etc., and book your hotels, and so on and so forth. So the point that I'm making is, in the past, we were, at least from a hospitality perspective, you're selling brick and mortar. Now they can customize it to the nth degree, and they don't really care or need to know how many different service providers are in the background putting this whole puzzle together for them. Yeah. So we see that now much more than before.
It's fascinating. Gillian, I have a quick question for you. Like, talking about kind of the seamless thing, and everyone's talking about AI and now the rise of AI agents. So maybe in the past, I'm like, I want to go to Dubai, I'm going to go on Booking, find a flight that works for me, maybe find a hotel, go to Ticketmaster and get tickets to the World Cup. In the future, will it be just like, are you seeing ways where I want to go to Dubai, and then the AI talks to Booking, and it talks to your booking agent, and just
100%.
gets me the perfect thing, and it just shows me, like, what are we seeing? What's going to be like in 5 years? Is it going to be just like, take me to Dubai, and then it'll just, the infrastructure will just lay out in front of me? What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you already see that happening in parts. I don't think it's perfect yet, but that all has to do, like I said, with personalization. If you think that there's different elements, right? The first thing is, how do you make the best selection for your next trip? And how can we make that easier? Because today people still spend more time thinking about where they're going next than being on the holiday itself. So you see there's so much more to gain, that also these algorithms understand where do you like to go, what do you like to do, right? And you see more and more that systems actually know that. They don't need to ask you anymore, do you want a 4-star hotel, or do you want to eat in this type of restaurant? You see more and more that the systems know that already, so they can give you really good choices. And you see that on Booking as well, where landing pages are completely different per person. Then if you think about finding and booking and accommodation, that has changed a lot in algorithms, AI, but you see a lot of development in digital assistants. And that's where it makes travel really easy, because still people don't know where to go, or they don't know how to travel from the airport, and these digital assistants can give you instant answers to these type of questions. So you see that is at the beginning, but I think it has huge potential for travel.
It's fascinating. Your Excellency, Nasser, like sports, just when you think sports can't get bigger, they're getting bigger. I mean, in the world of streaming, in the world of social media, sports is the only thing that people now watch live. And at Forbes, we value all the sports teams, and the NFL teams and the soccer teams are never been higher. Thankfully now, in America, women's sports is getting the attention and the money they deserve. Where is sports going for you, and what do you think, like, what does a sport mean to a government? What do sports mean to a city and an economy?
Sports is going to continue growing as a major contribution to any country that wants to grow its experience economy or its tourism economy. And the sad thing is, now sports are growing so big, it's putting a lot of pressure on the athletes. So I think there's something that needs to something's going to break pretty soon. I think it's going to re-regulate itself again. But I think look, some sports, U.S. sports, are doing a very good job at packaging their sports into entertainment, and I still think that there's a lot of room and a lot of scope for football or soccer to catch up to what the Americans are doing with their sports. So look, there's a lot of room for expansion, and I think we're only going to see it get bigger.
Well, we are at the World Government Summit, the big G in the WGS. What do you think? What can government leaders, whether it's national, whether it's local, state, what can they do to make all of your lives easier and to really further expand, the cultural experiences, the tourism, the travel? Like, what if you had the magic government wand? If you guys are all in charge, what would you do to boost your businesses and just boost the culture that comes out of what you guys build?
Well, look, the very, very simply, it's nuisance, right? It's minimizing nuisance. You're dealing with a want, not a need. You're not asking for people to come because they need to come. It's a joy. It's an experience, like my colleague Nasser had said. So because of that, every touch point has to be frictionless. It really does have to be frictionless. So the argument is predictable time, predictable cost, predictable outcome.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to know that you can send in the application for a visa, for example. It's going to cost X amount, and within 24 hours, you're going to get it. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. Again, we're spoiled for a choice. Because we're spoiled for a choice, if you go to a city or a state where the buses don't run on time, you don't want to take the buses. If the planes don't run on time, you don't want to take the planes. So government needs to work, and I think what they've done in the Emirates here is fantastic, because they actively do this. There's a feedback loop that they work on to make sure that you minimize the nuisance. So pinpointing where the nuisance is and trying to lower bureaucracy and so on. I'll give you one very, very simple example. I mean, we had a session at the board of directors where we were chatting about certain cities in Europe where the price that you have to pay for the room, the VAT on the room, is different than the VAT on the room whether you're allowed to use the pool or not. How could you possibly try to explain that to one of the customers? It's assumed that everybody gets access to the pool if you're staying at the hotel. And so again, bureaucracy sort of kills this. And if you turn that check-in or sales experience into a long protruded experience, nobody will click buy at the end, just very simply.
By the way, there's no good swimming pools in New York. No good swimming pools. Yours is Nasser. How did you, with you obviously with Qatar and the World Cup, what were your learnings with, because this was a full-on government effort. Like, what was easy? I mean, what did the government do to make it easy, and what could have they done better, or any government can do better?
Look, I think as difficult of a task it was for a country like Qatar and as small as Qatar to host the World Cup, but I think it was a very good case study for a government to see firsthand how you need to change your mindset and your approach. And I'm not going to repeat what Aymen said because he said it beautifully, but it's about how do you change your mindset to become customer-centric, and how do you make sure that your product, which is your country, your hotels, your infrastructure, your airline, your airports, and the content that you're providing with them, which in our case was the World Cup, how do you make it a product that will make your country more attractive? And it goes into all the details, the touch points. So it's really changing mindset and making sure you really try to get rid of as much bureaucracy as possible, and having everybody work off of the same musical notes, so to speak.
Gillian, you've worked with every government in the world.
Yeah.
What are the high notes? Who does it best? And what are best practices from your amazing global view?
Well, I think there are three elements that are super important. The economic model, so make sure there's less leakage. So more profits are being reinvested into communities. Everywhere you see that happening, that really stimulates and it works. The second part, I think, is about gathering data. You see in Venice, for instance, they're starting to charge to get into the city, but it's not about earning money, but it's about how do you gather data around, managing these visitor flows better, etc. And the third part is around skills and learning, because we need 100 million jobs in the future. So I think that's also where governments can truly help to facilitate that. So actually local people also end up getting these type of jobs in the industry. But these three parts for me are super crucial to make it work.
Oh, that's fascinating. We have 1 minute left. I'm going to quick lightning round. I want each of you to give me one big jaw-dropping prediction about your businesses in the next 3 years.
I think as far as the IT is concerned, I don't think that anybody will care about the apps anymore. I doubt that a single company will be able to say that these are my customers anymore. I think your online AI agent will be able to tap into any API, and therefore the percentages that you used to see from platforms, the 30%, 20% add-on that they add to costs, of staying in hotels will completely disappear. I have no doubt that that's going to happen within even less than 3 years. So that will bring the price down quite significantly. And then I think the next point is we're going to be competing based on experiences. And the reality is the governments that cooperate with hospitality providers to be able to lower the nuisance, they will be the winners. One last point as well is something that we've seen. The cities that win are the homogeneous cities and not the heterogeneous cities. Nobody wants to go to an international city anymore. People want to go to Japan for the Japanese experience. They want to go to Qatar for the Qatari experience. They want to come to Dubai for the Dubai experience, and so on. And so these mega cities no longer pull in the numbers that they used to see. So those 3 points are mine, to be honest.
Nice. Very cool. Your Excellency?
I think we will very soon witness a sporting event that will be born that is going to be bigger than the World Cup or the Olympics.
Ooh, what's a sport?
That's all I'm going to say right now.
I'm from America, so I'm going to say lacrosse. What do you think?
No, it's curling.
Curling. There we go. I like that. Gillian, you have the final word.
Final word. Well, that travel is more sustainable so that generations to come can still enjoy these beautiful places in the world.
That's a great place to end on.
Great to end.
I want to thank this amazing panel. I want to thank all of you. Cheers.